The marathon burnout is real, and I absolutely love it. There is nothing that gives me greater pleasure than watching shit like marathon fail and burn. If you're not gonna make a game for gamers, then don't make a game at all, okay? No one asked you, no one forced you. If you want to make something that we will laugh on, sure, go ahead, make marathon. Make me a little bit more happy because the world is working as intended. The bad things fail and the good things always shine through. And the marathon burnout is absolutely real. When it's Monday, boys, considering what happened yesterday on Saturday, I am 100% sure that we are gonna finally hit under 30k peak for marathon. It's gonna be legendary. It's gonna be great.
So I've been playing a lot of Marathon lately. I've put about 100 hours into the game now, and the reason I'm making this video is because at this point I can now definitively say
Oh, and by the way, do not get me wrong. I do not want Marathon to shut down yet. Because you see, a Bungie are masters of ruining any piece of lore they ever touch. Okay? With Marathon, they currently have this accidental situation of ultra vague posting. That's probably the best way to describe it. Every piece of Marathon lore currently is in infinity vague posting limbo. There is no concrete information on anything. Nothing makes sense. Nothing is pieceable together. I want Bungie to hash out the Marathon lore because this is what I said is going to happen. When Bungie starts hashing out the marathon lore, it's gonna go down so dramatically fast. Because again, we're talking about a Bungie, okay? They made Lightfall, a literal expansion centered around being gay. Yes, I'm sure that's. Oh wait, that destroyed Bungie. No, seriously, Lightfall is the point where pretty much most people gave up on Destiny and it had no chance of recovery. Then they made Osiris gay. They probably made a couple of other characters gay that I don't really care about. And then they put in Javitness, a literal they-them character, by the way. Because it's multiple people, so it's they-them technically. Yes. And, I mean, who the hell makes their final top tier, ultra mega jailer tier boss? And yes, the Witness has many similarities with the jailer, the stupidest and worst World of Warcraft villain of all time. A unibrow. Yes, Bungie's last villain for Destiny literally had a unibrow. It does not get more inclusive than that now, does it? So, I want Marathon to survive until the point where Bungie finally starts implementing lore about what's actually happening. Because it's gonna be unbelievably bad. It is gonna be some of the worst, baddest written thing ever in human history, most likely.
exactly what my conclusions are on Marathon, and because Bungie, after the release of Marathon, was highly encouraging people and imploring them to wait until Cryo Archive, which is their endgame content, releases before making any reviews or impressions on the game. And I made a video after about 20 hours giving my impressions, but now I can definitively say, now that I've experienced the entire gameplay loop, the endgame content, and really what this is all about when you get, to the highest like power curves in the game, now we no longer have to wonder if there's something we're missing out on or a part of the gameplay loop that we haven't yet experienced, so it's not time to do a review. Like we've experienced what there is going to be in the game now, and I think everything else from the rest of the live service season is going to be variations on what we've played. So anyways, just a really quick recap for people who are unfamiliar with Marathon. Marathon is an extraction game in which the entire goal is to load into an area, get as much gear as possible, either by killing other real players or fighting enemies in the environment, and gathering as much equipment as you can and successfully extracting out of the map safely in order to keep all of that gear. You can then choose to bring that newly acquired gear into your next match, but if you die, obviously you're going to lose it all. So the entire gameplay loop is the risk reward of bringing in gear to get more gear, but not trying to die, as you will lose everything if you do. Now, Cryo Archive is not fundamentally different in this way than the rest of the game.
God, even the reveal of items just makes me wanna do bad things.
I talked about this in my other video, but the base game consists of Perimeter, Dire Marsh, and Outpost. And Outpost is the most difficult version of, the PvE experience, and it's the most complicated map. Perimeter and Dire Marsh, by comparison, are a lot more chilled out. These are, a little easier experiences, but the loot isn't going to be quite as good as it is in Outpost. The more difficult the area, the potential better loot.
It's crazy. I have never heard anyone talk about the loot. I have never heard anyone talk about the memes because Marathon doesn't have memes. It completely lacks the spark that made Arc Raiders such a great and grand experience.
You can get. Now, I'm sure most of you probably know that, or if you've played the game, then you're already deeply familiar with all of these areas. And that is important because I wanted to bring everybody up to speed so that the rest of the context of this video makes sense. Now, before I get to some of my criticisms and ultimately my conclusion on Marathon, I want to give Bungie credit where it's due because they made a game that checks a lot of boxes for me personally. They made a game that is downright beautiful to look at, one that has an
No, it's not. Marathon looks like ass.
Extremely unique art style that
unique doesn't mean good, okay? You can have a spoon with a hole in the middle of it. It's unique, sure, but it's not useful. Unique does not equal good. This is what a lot of low IQ individuals do not understand. Unique and special aren't necessarily good traits.
For a lot of people is going to be the very thing keeping them coming back. The aesthetic is unique like no other. You're not going to see anything like this in another game, and the art has been something that has just drawn me back in time and again. This also goes hand in hand with the world building and all of the storytelling. A lot of it is, very obscure things in game that you kind of...
By the way, none of this actually, I think, honestly beats. But these are, by the way, such fucking cherry-picked scenarios, I'm not gonna lie. This is probably, honestly, this right here, what you're seeing, these pictures, is probably really the absolute best Marathon has in store of art and location and vibe. This is it. These locations that he is B-rolling is probably the absolute pinnacle of what Marathon has in art. Everything else, though, besides this, is just downgrade rough.
Have to go digging for. While there are moments when you're doing your factions where they'll talk to you and give you lore as well, you have to do things in game to acquire more, and you can go into your codex and read a lot of stuff, and it's like you kind of have to put in your own work to figure out what's going on in the game, and I really like a video game like that. So that's another box checked for me. The core gameplay loop is also fundamentally solid. Bungie knows how to make shooters. That's never really been an issue, and I never thought that was going to be the problem when Marathon, before the
Same. I'm actually still kind of sad that Marathon is just this trash because Bungie knows how to make a shooter. Now, granted, is the shooting actually better than Arc Raiders, for example? In a sense, yes, but in a sense, no. Because they honestly kind of do two different things. So, it's you can compare them, but it's kind of hard to really compare them per se. But Bungie obviously knows how to do shooting. All the Vogue interns that they have working for them, at least that's the only thing they have kept good. The shooting. Everything else is bad and ass, but the shooting at least is good.
The game came out. But most importantly, I feel the thing that has kept me coming back, you don't play a game for 100 hours that you really don't like at all. The thing that's kept me on the game is that it's a challenging game. Like, it's surprisingly hardcore for what I thought Bungie was going to go for.
This is such a cope, by the way. Oh, it's really hardcore. Oh, it's so much harder than blah, 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 blah. This is the super ultra marathon cope, by the way. Oh, it's the hardcore shooter. I have heard this so much. There's literally nothing that makes this more hardcore than Arc Raiders. Absolutely nothing.
for a console market shooter. You know, I was expecting something, not exactly something as hardcore as Escape from Tarkov, but definitely not what we got. But at the same time, that is an aspect I'm really enjoying and find incredibly refreshing. It's putting me at that like optimal challenge state where it feels good to try to improve and get better. There's a lot to learn about the game, and I really appreciate them making a game for a specific kind of audience. You know, if you're somebody like me and you have my taste in video games, then you will probably really click with Marathon. Also, I mentioned this in my prior video, but the PvP aspect is lovely in Marathon. It's actually the best part of the game. I mean, insofar as Cryo Archive does have some cool PvE stuff, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but generally speaking, the best part of the gameplay loop is actually the PvP fights, and that is not what I was expecting to happen, but is literally the highlight of the game. And I've been keeping an eye on the Steam charts of Marathon. I know that's like a meme now, you know, to watch the Steam charts.
It's not a meme. There are people every time some kind of garbage like Marathon hits the floor, there are countless people saying like, "Oh, you shouldn't look at Steam charts. What does undeniable statistics and information give you? It's evil, Chad. Don't look at it. Be like us. Close your eyes and listen to what we say Marathon is, instead of thinking for yourself." It's such cope. Oh, Steam charts are bad. Bro, is this... I wonder if this guy's gonna do the meme that, oh, the majority of the player base is on console, because that was a lie. Remember in a video, not a week ago, I think, we talked about it, that there was a very popular lie about Marathon having a lot of, like, 3 times more players or something like that than on Steam charts. Because the real players are on fucking PlayStation or something. No, the Marathon devs came out and said that literally 80% of all players are on Steam. Congratulations.
But I've been doing it just because I've been curious to see what the player retention is like, because this game is designed for player retention, which is actually one of my criticisms we'll get to later. But I mean, I sort of saw this coming, that the game launched and maybe it didn't have the biggest player base we've ever seen at its peak. But at the same time, I mean, this graph is like aggressively steady. The people are coming back on every day. It has its audience. It's found its market, and it is...
That is true. In the first week I talked about this. Again, listen, I don't like Marathon, but I am objective. I try to be as fair and objective about things as I can. And this is what I did say about Marathon the first week. Sure, Marathon has failed because it was supposed to replace Destiny. But Marathon's first week was amazingly steady. This is true. This is undeniable. Marathon in the first week showed extreme resilience and strength. Only after that, we saw some extreme burnout happening, and now we're seeing even more burnout happening.
Slightly more niche than maybe they were expecting given the budget of this game, but at the same time, it's not like it's Concord 3, right? It just didn't die on launch. It has a steady...
The concept of Concord is not dying on launch, honestly. That's just one of the common things Concords have in common.
Player base of people that are coming back every day. With that being said, I don't think it's going to reach very many new players. And that is for a lot of reasons I'll get to in a minute. But what I will definitively say about the gameplay and the just actual gameplay loop of Marathon is that it's really solid, it's pretty polished, and it's just genuinely fun, right? And the maps have gotten better as they've come out. Right when Marathon dropped, we only had access to Perimeter and Dire Marsh, and like, while they're decent maps, they get old pretty quick, and once you've played other stuff like Outpost or even Cryo Archive, you basically have no desire to go back to any of these maps, maybe even Outpost at this point. When Outpost dropped, it was highly praised for its complexity, its design, its world building, all of that. And Outpost is, again, genuinely fantastic. It's probably the best area in the base game. But that also means that Cryo Archive comes out and just completely obliterates Outpost. I mean, Cryo Archive is one of the most intelligently...
Okay, people say this. As someone who doesn't play Marathon, I can't actually, say too much about this, honestly, but I have a feeling this is lies. Because I have heard this, oh my god, Cryo Archive is actually amazing, blah, 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 many times. And yet, if it's actually that amazing, that good, that special, you'd think you would see a video on YouTube about how great the design of Marathon is. or on Twitter, people talking about how great it is, how unique or anything. You don't see that. Marathon has people saying it's great, but Marathon has no proof of it being great.
And deep designed maps I've ever seen in a video game, period. It's one of the most complex and intricate levels I think I've ever played. And all of that complexity and difficulty is necessary because all of the grinding you did in the base game on Perimeter, Dire Marsh, and Outpost, all of that gear, like you needed a reason to use it. And that's what Cryo Archive is supposed to be. But still, it's the exact same gameplay idea. It doesn't do anything fundamentally different than those other areas. It's still, load in, get as much gear as you can, and extract. But there's a lot of ways you can do that, obviously from other players, but there's also vaults in Cryo Archive. And this is the thing I really want to pin down because that's what makes...
You know what's the sad part about this? Marathon could have probably been a really good game if it just had a different art style. And, well, it wasn't fucking boring.
This area special. And if you're anything like me who really enjoys like secret areas and like Easter eggs and that kind of stuff, then these vaults are specifically what that is. You have to get a key from Outpost, which then you can take into Cryo Archive and do a very specific set of tasks to open a secret vault, which has like a lot of really good gear in Marathon. All of these vaults essentially have little puzzles that teach you different mechanics and prepare you for things later to come, which we'll talk about. But Cryo Archive is still the same idea as the rest of the game. So why is it a limited time mode only on the weekends? And why is it so damn difficult to get to all of these vaults? The thing is, one of my criticisms is I don't see realistically how anyone who isn't a hardcore gamer or plays video games for a living is ever going to experience some of this late game content. There is a final boss fight in Cryo Archive, which is the compiler. And truthfully, this is really cool. This is exactly the kind of stuff that I was wanting out of Marathon. It's what I was anticipating playing, and it's probably the highlight of the game. However, because of how many steps it takes to get here, and honestly, the amount of luck you need on your side, because not only do you have to do all of these vaults at the same time as fending off other real players in runs, but you also have to get other keys for different vaults that are completely RNG dependent. So not only do you need to risk your gear going in there, but there's also not a guarantee that you'll be able to progress to the next vault. But with how much work is required into doing these, I genuinely don't see how anybody who isn't a hardcore player or a streamer is
I'm sorry, if this is the last boss, is this supposed to be the pinnacle fight? I already will call it absolutely a failure. I mean, we have been looking at the pinnacle fight happening for almost a fucking minute. Almost a fucking minute. And I have no idea what they're shooting, what he's doing. If your last boss is literally the fucking vague post, then it's not interesting, it's not cool, it's not anything. I mean, it's a failure. Whatever this last boss is, it's not interesting, it's a failure. Again, I am currently 40 minutes. I'm almost spacing out on what he's saying here, honestly. Because I want to figure out what the hell is this final boss, and I can't figure it out. It's undiscernible, it's understandable, it's bad. It's just bad.
We're going to experience it. But at the same time, the compiler is basically...
Like what the fuck is this? It's just a green light floating. Is that it? Is that the final boss? I want a refund and I didn't even buy the game.
A Destiny raid boss fight, which to their credit are always really good. These kinds of PvE encounters are exceptional. There's puzzles within them. There's a lot of complexity with the boss's moveset. They're amazing. And you would think that after, I don't know, playing for 60 or 70 hours, you would have access, to late game content, and essentially whenever you want, you've kind of earned the right to do that. But that's not really the case here. Because this is the first season at the moment, if you've already grinded and you have access to Cryo Archive, then of course, you have access to endgame content, but that won't always be the case. In future seasons, they're going to wipe the game every couple of months, meaning all of your faction progress will go away, your entire, vault and all of your gear that you've got will also be deleted, and so you'll essentially have to grind the base game again to get back up to the ability to get to endgame content, whatever that ends up being in the future. Now, my issues with this are a few things. Number one, because of the nature of Marathon, I really really don't think it's a game that is going to be drawing in tons of new players every couple of seasons, right? I think it's a game that has already found its audience and they're going to be the ones sticking around. I can't imagine a whole lot of new players picking up the game. And this is important because wipes are basically for not only the hardcore players to have that sense of progression and being able to grind.
Wipes are not for the hardcore. Wipes are for everyone because in a lot of games the journey is the end, and the end doesn't count. Great example of this is actually Path of Exile. Path of Exile is the journey. For literally 95% of the player fucking base, it's the journey. No one sticks around for... The super majority of the player base don't stick around to do anything higher than a tier 2 fucking map or tier 3 map. It's the journey. It's killing fucking Kitava and calling it a day. I'm using Path of Exile 1 here because there we actually have statistics. You know? It's that. It's that simple. It's really that simple. It is the journey. The reset is a joy that needs to be had. And if you're not enjoying it, it's bad. And this is someone who liked Marathon and thinks resets are bad. Fundamentally, I probably disagree with 99.9% of whatever this person says.
To back up again, but also it allows new players to not get completely obliterated in lobbies by gamers that have been, playing for a long time and have all of the best gear already. They would just get stomped. So, of course, to some extent, it's necessary for the new player experience to be retained. But I just don't know how many new players are ever going to be joining Marathon. There's going to be some, but I don't think it's going to be a significant amount. And all it's really going to do, I think each wipe is going to churn more and more hardcore players that just frankly don't want to do that grind again. And I'm actually one of those people. I wish that this was a game that, because I've put like 100 hours into it at this point, and I've, gotten to the ability to experience endgame content, whenever they release endgame content every few seasons, that's when I'd like to check back in and play it. I don't want to have to grind the base game for 20, 30 hours again just to get the ability to get back to endgame. That's not something that really is appealing to me, and that's kind of my issue with it right now. This is what I'm talking about, case in point, when I say that this won't...
So sad. So absolutely sad, honestly. I really think people who do not understand the joys of a reset are hugely missing out. And again, if you're someone who... A lot of people just fear losing stuff. That's the reality of it. 9 out of 10 people who say they don't like resets I just need to be forced into a reset, and then they will understand, wow, this is amazing.
Appeal to not hardcore gamers or people that only have a few hours to play, maybe on the weekends or something, because you simply won't have enough time to grind the game like it demands to experience a lot of this endgame content. And even if you do, it's not even a shoo-in to just go and experience it for yourself. Like I said, I've played the game for about 100 hours at this point, and I still have yet to do the compiler boss fight for myself. But speaking of this boss, as cool as this is, and as amazing as that experience is going to be.
Okay, I'm gonna Google the compiler. Marathon the compiler. Okay, let's look at. It is just a fucking retarded green light. Oh my god, this is the dumbest thing I have seen in my entire life. This is pathetic. Fire these people. I'm gonna share the screen so you can see. Here, look at this. This is the compiler. Whoever thought that this is supposed... Fire them. Fire all of them. They're idiots. Incapable. Garbage. Wow. Wow, is that a disappointment. Oh my god, is that just a disappointment. Wow. Wow.
be. All that really happens at the end is you defeat the boss and then you get a ton of really good loot at the end. But again, if they're going to wipe the game every couple of months, you won't even get to keep this gear forever. Eventually this will go away. It's just basically getting exotic weapons after a Destiny raid, and that's kind of where I felt comfortable giving a final review on Marathon. Now that I've seen what happens after the end game content, you have a big boss fight, which is exciting, and then you get all of your loot, which is also really exciting. But beyond that, the only conclusion to really come to is that at that point, Marathon is just Destiny with extra steps. And again, don't get me wrong, I can
Wait. Is this guy surprised Marathon is Destiny with extra steps? Boys, am I tweaking? I mean, I knew that Marathon is gonna be just a different flavor of Destiny from the beginning. I assumed everyone knew that. What do you think? The people at Bungie are gonna be capable of making something not Destiny at this point? Jesus Christ.
consider all of this to be good content. It's good gameplay stuff. It's a fantastic map and a really good boss fight from the looks of it, but it is something that, again, I truly don't think that I would be shocked if more than 1,000 or a couple of thousand players ever experience this boss, just because of how out of reach it is. And for the average
Well, considering how little players are left, I'm pretty sure no one's experiencing anything.
gamer who, is only jumping on for a game or two every night, you may as well forget about it. This thing is never going to be within your reach, and that's just because of the way that they've, kind of gated it behind so many barriers.
Wait, and that is a really bad design thing. On one hand, it rewards people who play the game the most, but on the other hand, you're missing that arc raiders of experience of, oh my god, that's a matriarch. That's a queen. That's a dad. That's a bomber up right there. Ooh, you're you know it's locked. You're never gonna see it. You're never gonna interact with it. You know that fundamental you're gonna miss out on. In Arc Raiders, everything was available to you. You just had the fears of, if I engage in a fight with this, will people come and try and kill me? I have been in situations where I tried to kill a Bastion and someone just fucking free loadout pharaohs me from behind, and then that's an experience. I've died, by the way, but it was great. It was an experience. In this game, there is no fear of that. It's missing a complete part of the not lost, but Arc Raiders part of the gameplay loop, and it replaces it with, well, effectively just saying we're hardcore, deal with it, bro. Which I find extremely cheap and dislikable. Wow.
barriers to get to this stuff. It's kind of strange how they've done it this way, and I'm not entirely sure why they did. Now, the way that I would fix this, or the solution I would have, is if this game was more like Elden Ring Night Rain, and I'm going to be drawing some comparisons to this game because they're actually very similar in a lot of ways. Night Rain, when you bought the game, it has pretty much all of the content that it was going to have from day one, but the game was so new and honestly difficult that a lot of the player base hadn't figured out the game yet, so it took you a fair amount of time to learn it and then beat all the bosses, but they were all there from the beginning. Marathon is not going to have all of the content that you can experience until, they reset every season and they wipe the game and all that stuff. We have Cryo Archive right now for Endgame, but probably in a couple months it'll be something else. But you'll need to grind all the way back up to be able to experience that, even if you've grinded the base game already. And personally, I just don't have any interest in grinding the base game again. And maybe I would have a little more interest in grinding the base game if it wasn't for some of the other problems I have with it. First of all, I don't always...
Again, this is such a sad mindset of... This is a person who will never understand the joys, the absolute blissfulness of being in the Barrens and getting your first white fucking shoulder. This is a person who will never understand that. Never. Pathetic. I think it's sad. I think it's sad that people who don't understand the blissful feeling of getting their white shoulders in the battle.
have friends that can jump on and play Marathon at any moment. So sometimes I just want to play by myself, but playing in a solo queue is absolutely horrible in this game. The solo experience is awful. All it is trying to get a moderate amount of gear. You can't even really get that much, even on optimized runs, really. And then you're just waiting for an assassin player who went invisible to rat you out at the last second. The only character anyone ever plays in solo is assassin now, because you can go invisible and just wait someone out from behind a corner and get an easy kill on them. At least in the cooperative setting, right, in 3 players, you can have actual gunfights, you can have interactions with all the different characters, and the PvP is much deeper that way. Solo is just not fun when it comes to the PvP standpoint. And this problem is just going to continue to get worse because players are getting better at the game, they're getting more optimized routes, they're understanding more, and they're just getting better overall. So lobbies are getting increasingly sweaty to a point where it's making solo almost unplayable now. And you can still play co-op just fine, obviously, but the PvP experience in solo is just downright miserable at this point. Not to mention, people have just really learned the maps now too. Everyone knows where all of the good gear is now, so everybody converges at the same point at basically the same time in the game now, and it's not really, you know, an actual varied experience anymore. It's just running the same routes over and over again. So, and again, that is all essentially.
And this is the bad part. And our creators, I won't say Lost Ark also always. In our creators, we had the same problem. Ratting, this and that. The meta changed so much while the game was at its peak. Now I haven't played it in a while, so I don't know what exactly is happening, but I trust the meta is shifting here and there, as always, because it always does. And man, you had times when you could not trust anyone. You had times when you knew someone's literally setting up in one of those locations. You had metas with barriers, you had... Our creators is just so much better than this because it just gives you so much more tools. You had people baiting people, setting up, strapping, pretending, lying, gaslighting, and things. It was an experience, okay? But in Marathon, these experiences are fundamentally impossible because there are no barriers. There are no lines. There are none of anything. You know, it's just you see someone, you get shot. Everyone's after the gear. There's no situation when you see someone who you know is probably just there to get a little bit of loot and get the fuck out, just like you. But is he gonna shoot you? I mean, we just were friendly on comms, but I mean, it is what it is. And in Marathon, you don't get that. So it becomes stale because it doesn't matter if Marathon is all PvE or PvE, because the end thing is, well, you're just gonna shoot anyone you see anyway. There's no hesitation, there's no fucking nothing. Unlike in all Arc Raiders. So, in Marathon, the game loop just becomes so much staler, so much faster because it never deviates.
For getting the ability to grind endgame content. And as I've said earlier, the endgame content is good. Like, Cryo Archive is a objectively fantastic map, and I really enjoy playing it. And the fact that it has a massive like PvE boss encounter, which is basically a Destiny boss at the end, and that's amazing. But now we've seen what the endgame entails, right? We know what happens. You defeat a boss, and then you get a ton of really exclusive gear behind it, which, again, as exciting as that is, it's basically Destiny with extra steps, right? It's the same kind of like looter shooter mechanic, except it's a PvP game now and it's more extraction based. So ultimately, my final conclusion on Marathon is that it is objectively a really fun game. It's well made, and even if you don't like extraction shooters, there is a lot of fun gameplay to be had here still. And the PvP is just simply amazing. Like, it's fantastic even. So much so that I think it's actually a shame that there isn't another mode or even some kind of like arena shooter to experience this, because just it's so good, and to only relegate it to extraction mechanics just feels a little bit wasteful to me. But also, Marathon does have a lot of problems to face right now. Solos are in a really bad spot, and in my honest opinion...
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's sad. I think this is a person who will literally never be capable of understanding the joys of doing something again and just be happy about the thing that you have found. It's a little bit saddening. It's honestly it's a lot disheartening, but it is what it is at the end of the day. That was Chopper, 10 out of 10. Bye.